Valerie. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to this week's What's for Dinner. If you're new here, welcome. I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. I put out What's for Dinner videos every Sunday, and this week I have 3 inspirational meals for you that I hope that you enjoy. One of them is a very popular soup that was all over the internet and started on Reddit, and it is called upvote soup, or it's a creamy chicken tortellini soup. And but I'm doing it in the Instant Pot. So I will still link the original Crockpot version of it in the description box down below for you if you don't have an Instant Pot. And if you don't have an Instant Pot or Crockpot, you could still do this on the stove. So do not worry, it is amazing and I still think you should make it. And other than that, let's just get started. This first meal is a Instant Pot version of the very popular Crockpot creamy tortellini spinach and chicken soup. I'm going to start off by dicing 1 medium yellow onion. I only had a large one, so I just took a part of it to equal the amount of about a medium onion. And I'm also going to go ahead and mince up maybe about 4 cloves of garlic. The recipe only calls for 2, but you know I gotta have more than that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and turn my Instant Pot to the saute function, and mine just has 17 minutes on it. You just want to make sure you don't have a couple minutes on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and I'm going to add in my diced onion and stir that for a couple minutes. And then I'll go ahead and once the onions are a little more translucent, I'll go ahead and stir in my garlic. And I'm only going to stir that in for another couple more minutes while the onions finish getting a little bit more softened. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 tablespoon of dried basil, as well as 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And then I just gave that a quick little stir. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 14.5 ounce cans of diced tomatoes. The recipe calls for petite diced tomatoes, and you're going to go ahead and leave the juices in there. And I'm actually using these tomatoes that are from Aldi, and they actually have like a basil flavor already in them. And I really like that basil, garlic, oregano flavor that they have. It really adds a lot of extra flavor, so I recommend that for sure. And then you have to add in 4 cups of chicken broth, and I actually am using just some Better Than bouillon in water, and I ran out of my chicken Better Than bouillon, so it's like about half chicken bouillon, and then half of it is this vegetable bouillon. And y'all, I am CEO of washing my hands over and over and forgetting to dry them, or just not drying them and not caring. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and give that all a quick stir, and then you're going to add in your chicken breast, which is 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. And I'm actually using frozen chicken breast, and they use some chicken thighs as well. I just stick with all chicken breast because it's more of what we have on hand. Anyways, I just went ahead and added some salt and pepper, half a teaspoon each, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of stir those and push them under the liquid. And then I went ahead and made sure my lid was set to sealing, and I'm going to pressure cook this for about 16 minutes. Since I'm using chicken that is frozen, you can do anywhere from 12 to 16, just depending. And while that's cooking, I pulled out my milk, my heavy cream, because it calls for half and half, and I'm letting that sit out because it does say you want to warm it, and I don't normally warm my cream, but I leave it sitting out while I'm doing the other ingredients so that it starts to come to a room temperature. And I'm using that tricolor tortellini there, and I went ahead and I'm just boiling it per my instructions on the package. They used frozen, I'm using fresh, it's just what I had. And yeah, if you're using frozen, you can kind of follow the recipe and add it in like it says. Because I'm using fresh, I'm just boiling it prior. And I'm also going to go ahead and measure out my spinach that's going to go in, and it's going to be about 3 cups of spinach. I did add closer to 4 cups, and in fact I would have liked more because I really like vegetables. But anyways, now that the chicken is all done, by the way, I did an instant release of the pressure once it was done, and I pulled that chicken out, and it is so tender. You can kind of see here, it's really easy to fall apart. They kind of said to cube it up, and I think I will be doing this again for sure. It was amazing, but I'll just shred it up kind of with 2 forks instead of trying to cut it up like that into some chunks. it would have worked out just as fine, and in fact, I like shredded chicken better. Anyways, so now to the Instant Pot, I'm adding in my tortellini that's been drained, and I'm adding in that spinach and kind of stirring it around so it can start to wilt. Then you're going to go ahead and add in your half and half, your 1 cup of half and half, and also 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. I actually ended up adding a little bit extra because, well, I love cheese, and a little extra never hurts. It did have a nice good flavor by adding that extra Parmesan cheese. And then just go ahead and give it all a good stir. Let your cheese start to melt into that, and then you're going to go ahead and add in your chicken, which I don't know if I mentioned, I actually made a little extra in chicken in weight-wise, and mine was like 2 pounds, and it would have been too much. So I just reserved some of that chicken to use for a little lunch during the week. And then I'm going to go ahead and give that a taste for any salt and pepper that you might want to add. And I served this with little garlic toast rounds, and this was so good. We both loved this very much. My boyfriend said it was really good, that he enjoyed it a lot. I definitely can see why people are in love with this all over the internet, and we'll be making this again. And this next meal that I'm making is some baked garlic butter chicken. I'm going to start off by taking about 1.5 pounds of chicken breasts, and these are 2 large chicken breasts that I actually cut down the middle to make 4 thinner chicken breast pieces. And I'm taking some paper towels and just removing any excess moisture that is on them, and then I'm going to season them with some seasoning salt, and this is to taste. And I think when I do this next, I'm going to either add less actual table salt later on in the recipe, or a little less seasoning salt here, because for me this recipe just had a little bit too much salt. Next, I went ahead and sprayed the bottom of my 9x13 baking dish with a little bit of olive oil, and now I'm just going to go ahead and take those chicken breasts and place them on the bottom of the baking dish and just set those aside while we get started on the garlic butter sauce. And to a medium saucepan over medium heat, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of chicken broth and 1/4 cup of butter, which is a half a stick here. And then I'm going to go ahead and mince up some garlic. I just pressed garlic about 3 tablespoons worth into the butter, and then I just gave it a quick stir so that garlic can kind of get spread out throughout. Now you're going to need 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. I'm actually going to mix it with a little bit of cold water first so that it doesn't clump up. And it's just the smallest amount of cold water. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pour that in. And I'm going to season it with 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, and 1/4 teaspoon of dried parsley, and then just go ahead and mix that all together, and you're going to go ahead and let that come to a boil. And then we're just going to go ahead and pour that amazing sauce over all of our chicken, and you're going to go ahead and bake this at 425 degrees, and you're going to bake it uncovered and for 15 minutes, and then you'll pull it out here, and you're going to baste it with all of that like garlic butter sauce. I'm just using my spoon here to kind of like spoon it on top of all of my chicken, making sure it gets all nice and coated. We want that flavor back in there as well as moisture. And this chicken was very tender. I'm assuming also because the fat content in the butter helps to keep the chicken very soft. And it calls for some mozzarella, 1 cup. I have this mozzarella and provolone rustic cut, so it's a very thick cut cheese. And I'm just going to go ahead and pour that on top. And I'm not really measuring a cup out. I'm just kind of eyeballing what I'd like on top. So you use whatever amount works for you. And I really liked the addition of the provolone in this cheese. It adds a nice smoky flavor that actually complemented it very well. And I'm going to go ahead and also just sprinkle a little bit of dried parsley on top. I just like the way that looks on top of, and when the cheese melts, it looks really like pretty. And just go ahead and put that back in the oven for about 10 more minutes. And I'm just making these roasted garlic mashed potatoes and California steamed vegetables as side dishes for this. And I'm just making this according to the directions, which was just to boil the 2 cups of water, add the mashed potatoes in, and I'm using my handy little silicone fork to go ahead and just mix those together. Nothing fancy, but I really love these mashed potatoes. They're one of my favorites. I just love the flavor. there's that chicken out of the oven. I put it on broil for a minute so the cheese can get nice and browned on top. And you see how much juice is and sauce is still there. That's why it was like I could use this still for to top my vegetables and my mashed potatoes. And there is all of that plated. It was amazing, so good, so much flavor. I love garlic, so this was amazing for me. This last meal is going to be some baked tilapia with a sour cream Parmesan crust. I'm going to be having some brown rice as a side to this tilapia, so I'm going to go ahead and just measure that out. Make whatever amount of rice works for you. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio in the Instant Pot, and I'm just adding some butter to that and some pink Himalayan sea salt. And I would recommend a plain side dish like rice to complement the flavors from the richness in the tilapia crust. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the Instant Pot, make sure it's on sealing, and I'm cooking that for about 21 minutes because it is brown rice. And now I'm getting started on the mixture for the tilapia. So I'm taking 1 cup of sour cream, and I'm just going to go ahead and place that in my bowl. And to that, I'm going to go ahead and add 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese and a 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, as well as a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give that all a good mix to get all those flavors all together and blend it out and incorporate it with each other. I actually noticed that the recipe called for a clove of garlic minced. It actually doesn't say when to put it in, so I wasn't sure if it was in the sauce or on top of the fish, but I figured I want it in the sauce, so I went ahead and added the garlic, and I did add extra, even though it only calls for a clove. Just add whatever makes you happy. And now I'm taking my 9x13 baking dish, sprayed it with a little bit of oil on the bottom, and these are the tilapia I have. They're just from Aldi, and I defrosted them, and I am just placing them in the bottom of the dish however they fit the best. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and just pat the tops of those to be a little bit more dry. Next, I'm going to be taking that Parmesan sour cream mixture and just placing that on top of all of my tilapia and just spreading it all until it covers all of the fillets of the fish. Now, I'm going to make a note here that I saw people commenting on this recipe that it was too overpowering, just too much, and I will kind of agree. Although I do really like the flavor, I feel like it could have cut back on it somewhat and or had more tilapia to spread it across. It would have been a little bit more crunchy, which is what I would have liked. But anyways, so now we're going to go ahead and add in 1/4 cup of Italian seasoned breadcrumbs to the top of that. And then it says to spray the top of that with some butter flavored cooking spray. Now, I didn't have any butter flavored cooking spray, so I just took this avocado spray oil and I just sprayed that all on top. Yeah, and then I went ahead and baked that at 350 degrees for 30 minutes or until your fish is cooked. Oh, also, the recipe didn't call for this, but I sprinkled it with some parsley, some dried parsley. Again, I just like it for looks. That's why I always add parsley. My brown rice is done here, so I'm just using the paddle to the Instant Pot and just kind of like moving that around there, breaking it up. There's the fish out of the oven. I would have liked it a little bit more of a crunchy top texture, and it didn't really get there for me, and I could have left it longer, but I didn't want the fish to be overcooked either, but it was still good. And I served this with that rice and some steamed broccoli. Really complimented that. I love fish and rice and broccoli. It's like something that's like one of my favorite meals in general, so it was nice to switch it up and try this and have that more cheesy topping on top that I don't normally have. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks so much for watching, friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so you don't miss out on any future What's for Dinner videos, and I hope you all have an amazing week.